Hello lovely language learners, it's Mork Sensei. Welcome back to my channel. If you are an advanced English language learner who needs academic writing skills, today's topic will be of importance to you. I'm going to talk about hedging, not like the bush or the investment vehicle. No, I mean language hedging, sometimes called cautious words or vague language. Hedging is indeed an important feature of academic writing, in the natural and social sciences especially, because writers may not be sure of the claims that they're making in their subject area, or perhaps the ideas are judged as good, but the evidence is not very strong, or it could be strong but not 100% certain. It's preferable in such cases, which is close to most of the time, to soften the language to make it less absolute. Writers may want to avoid presenting conclusions or ideas as facts and may want to distance themselves from the claims being made. I'll share 4 key grammar areas where you'll see hedging appear in the English language. These are introductory verbs, adverbs of frequency, modal adverbs, adjectives, and nouns, and that clauses. I might finish off with some exercises as well to help you see the language in action. So first we have introductory verbs. These are verbs like seem, tend, assume, appear to be, think, believe, doubt, indicate, suggest, and is likely to be. Some example sentences. The results of the study seem to suggest a positive correlation between exercise and improved cognitive function in older adults, rather than simply the study suggests, blah, blah. Studies tend to show that children who read for pleasure develop stronger language skills than those who don't. Based on previous research, it is assumed that the proposed mechanism of action is responsible for the observed effect. The data appear to indicate a significant difference between the experimental and control groups. They think the current findings provide valuable insight into the underlying mechanisms of the disease. Many scientists believe that climate change is a major threat to global biodiversity. While there's some evidence to support the hypothesis, many researchers doubt its validity due to limitations in the study design. The data indicate there is a strong relationship between exposure to secondhand smoke and the development of respiratory illness. Recent studies suggest that mindfulness meditation is a promising intervention for reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression. Based on the available evidence, it is likely that genetic factors play a significant role in the development of Alzheimer's disease. If you didn't have the softening effect of these introductory verbs, then these sentences would seem overconfident and might be proven untrue. Especially when we speak of the future, most things are impossible to know with absolute certainty. The second grammar area we can see hedging language is with adverbs of frequency. These adverbs include often, sometimes, usually, rarely, regularly, generally, and typically. Some examples? The phenomenon is often observed in clinical settings but has yet to be fully understood, rather than simply it is observed. Sometimes experimental results can be influenced by unforeseen factors that may require further investigation. In epidemiological studies, obesity is usually associated with a higher risk of chronic disease, such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. Rarely do studies provide conclusive evidence that definitively supports a particular hypothesis. Participants who claim to engage in physical activity have been regularly found to have lower rates of obesity and related health issues. While there are exceptions, it's generally accepted that higher levels of education are associated with better employment opportunities and higher earnings. Research studies typically involve a sample of participants who are demographically representative of the population under investigation. Modal verbs are a third form used in hedging. There are several types of modals, first being verb modals, which include will, must, would, may, might, could, and can. Examples? It might be important to investigate potential environmental factors that may contribute to the development of the disease. To effectively manage this condition, patients must adhere to a strict medication regimen and make lifestyle modifications.
While it would be tempting to make generalizations based on this data, it is important to exercise caution and consider other factors.
While the study results are promising, it may be premature to draw definitive conclusions about the efficacy of the treatment. With further investigation, it might be possible to identify new targets for therapeutic intervention. While the results of the study could be interpreted in different ways, the most plausible explanation is that the treatment is effective. By implementing evidence-based interventions, healthcare providers can help prevent and manage a wide range of health conditions. The next type of modal is modal adjectives, which include certain, definite, clear, probable, and possible. Here are some examples. It seems that social support from family and friends is a certain predictor of improved mental health outcomes in adolescence. Definite patterns have emerged from the research on effects of poverty on child development, including lower cognitive scores and increased behavior problems. While the impact of social media on self-esteem is a complex issue, excessive use of some social media has a clear association with negative outcomes such as depression and anxiety. Based on a meta-analysis of previous studies, it is probable that personality traits such as extroversion and openness to experience are associated with higher levels of creativity. Possible explanations for the relationship between socioeconomic status and health outcomes include differences in access to healthcare, education, and healthy foods. Next, we have modal adverbs. These include certainly, clearly, probably, possibly, perhaps, conceivably, and arguably. And here are some example sentences with these modals. The prevalence of substance use among adolescents is certainly a cause for concern, as it can lead to a range of negative outcomes, such as impaired cognitive function and addiction. The data clearly indicate that income inequality is a major driver of social and health disparities, particularly in developing countries. While the relationship between early childhood trauma and later mental health problems is complex, it is probably the case that trauma contributes to the development of various mental illnesses. Individuals from some ethnic groups may be less likely to seek treatment for mental health issues, possibly due to differences in cultural attitudes towards mental illness. Perhaps unsurprisingly, individuals with higher levels of education tend to have better job prospects and higher earning potential than those with less education. The development of artificial intelligence could conceivably have significant implications for a wide range of industries, including healthcare, finance, and transportation. Social media has arguably transformed the way that people interact and consume information, but its impact on mental health and well-being remains a topic of debate. We're not finished with modals yet. One more is modal nouns, which is just the noun form of the verbs, adjectives, and adverb modals mentioned earlier. Such nouns include assumption, possibility, probability, certainty, conception, and argument. Here are some example sentences for you. The assumption that genetic factors play a significant role in the development of the condition is supported by a growing body of research. Although more research is needed, The possibility that certain dietary interventions could reduce the risk of cancer is an intriguing avenue of investigation. There is an increasing probability that the treatment will be effective in reducing symptoms. It is almost a certainty that social support is a key determinant of mental health outcomes. The conception that mental illness is caused by personal weakness or moral failing is a harmful stereotype that perpetuates stigma and discrimination. While there are arguments on both sides of the debate, the consensus among experts is that climate change is a pressing global issue that requires immediate action. Okay, that is it for modals. Now let's move on to the fourth and final way we can hedge sentences, and that is through the use of clauses. These include it could be the case that, it could be argued that, it might be suggested that, and there is every possibility that. And of course, I have some examples for you. It could be the case that individuals with certain personality traits are more susceptible to developing addiction. From a sociological perspective, it could be argued that income inequality is a major contributor to social unrest and political instability. In the absence of conclusive evidence, it may be assumed that the treatment is effective based on anecdotal reports and case studies. It might be suggested that the intervention could be more effective if delivered in a group setting based on the available data. There's every possibility that changes in climate patterns could have significant implications for the distribution of plant and animal species. By now, I hope you've noticed from all of these example sentences that different types of hedging can be used in one sentence. This is often the case. Okay, and here I end my lesson on hedging and the 4 grammatical structures or areas you can take advantage of to hedge your own sentences in academic writing. Just to review, these were introductory verbs, adverbs of frequency, modal verbs, adverbs, adjectives, and nouns, and that clauses. I hope you learned from this video that there are numerous ways to soften the conviction of your statements so that you can avoid sounding that you are 100% sure of something, that what you mean to write is not 100% scientifically proven fact or cannot be said with absolute certainty. But before I say goodbye, here are a few sentences for you to rewrite or restate. Pause the video if you want or need to write them down, and check the description box below the video to see some example answers when you are ready. Okay, see you next time. Work Sensei signing out. Mwah.